Hey, it's Graffiti with 97.1 The Eagle. Chris is here, and Chris Jericho is here.
Yes.
From Fozzy, from WWE, wrestling way back in the day. New album, Sin and Bones, in stores now.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on the Uproar Festival. How's the tour going? Are you getting a chance to interact with all the other bands? I mean, there's a billion bands.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Uproar is it's like a traveling summer camp.
Yeah.
You know, it's a 6-week long tour. At this point, it's like I can't believe it's the last 2 weeks now. And now you're at the point where you know everybody. At first, you know, you stick with your camp and you kind of see some guys and hey, what's up? And know a few of the people here and there. But at this point, you pretty much know everybody. And you know which guys you like best and which guys you like hanging out with. And I mean, for me, basically from the first day I met him up until now, it's Zach from Shinedown. We're like BFFs, best buds. So, you know, the guys from POD have been really great. The In This Moment guys were cool. All of Shinedown we love. Shannon and Robbie from Godsmack are great. So you just start, you know, connecting with people and getting a vibe with them because we see each other every day, you know, and we're on this tour every day and we're all here for the same reason. We love what we do. We're all fans of music, fans of each other, and know how big of a tour this is and how important and how awesome it is to be a part of it. Yeah.
Do you get any of the fanboy kind of stuff from other bands that have, you know, maybe grown up watching you wrestle and all that kind of stuff?
Sometimes, but the cool thing about Fozzy is now we've been doing this for 13 years and with 6 records in, most of the bands are pretty much familiar with our band. And there's some that you know, are maybe started as Jericho fans. Mm-hmm. Some started as Rich Ward fans. I mean, the guys at Shinedown have known Rich for years, so they were hip to Fozzy way before they were ever hip to me. Last year we did Uproar, and you know, Shadows was a wrestling fan who became a Fozzy fan. Right. Matt Tuck was a Rich Ward fan who became a Fozzy fan from Bullet. So we've got guys in the band from all, you know, for all different areas, and we've all been doing this for such a long time that somebody at least knows one of us in the band, and that's cool. It kind of breaks the ice, which was is like I said, on a tour like this, it really makes a big difference when you can have a little bit of a family environment and have your friends. I mean, we're excited to play every day, and then afterwards get into some mischief with whoever's going on. Go watch Shinedown, go watch Godsmack, go hang out here, go hang out there, and it makes the time go by a lot faster.
Sure. Are there like any crazy pranks or anything going on? You said now y'all are becoming more of a family now. Is it just getting to that point where someone's just pulling a crazy prank or anything?
Well, it's not so much crazy pranks. Like, we're not like, you know, putting whoopee cushions under each other or anything like that. But it's cool though. Like a certain guy in one of the bands has a skeleton key for any golf cart at any venue, and all the venues have golf carts to get around. So yeah, he was smart enough to do that, and we go driving on the golf carts every night, and it's cool because there's some really crazy stuff around these amphitheaters. Most of them are built like in a forest, you know. And the other day, it's like, dude, we went to, I think, where were we, like Indianapolis or something like that, and there was like this back road trail that led to this like grave, like a Blair Witch grave that someone had like hammered in with a you know, with like a big mallet or something, this weird cross. So, you know, what is this doing here? And then we kind of drove around, and then we saw a car with 2 girls in it, and they were drinking. It was the last two girls in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So I walked up to the window and I was like, I pulled my credentials, my tour credentials out, and I was like, police. And the tour credential says Rockstar Uproar on it. But I just flashed it quickly, like, police. Sure. Oh, what are you guys doing in there? Oh, we're just waiting for someone to pick us up. You're not drinking in there, are you? Oh, not really. I said you're drinking. You can't have an open container in the car. Give me that. Took her drink, took it in my hand, gave them some you know, some hooey about if you guys move this car in the next 24 hours, I will impound this car. I will arrest both of you. That's my tent over there. I'm watching you all night long. Then a guy came to pick them up, and he gets out, and I'm like, are you with these girls? He said, yes. I'm going to pick them up. Like I said, first of all, take that bass out of your voice, son. Police. And I flashed my credentials again, and he's like, oh, sorry, sir, we're going to take them. I said, listen, like I said, if this car moves in 24 hours, you're all arrested. I've got all your license plate. I got all your names. Don't drink and drive. And then I get into the golf cart driveway as I'm drinking the drink. So yeah, just kind of adventures that you do, like I said, to pass the time when you're having fun after the show.
That's good times. So on the first single off of Sin and Bones, you mentioned Matt Shadows. He guessed on that song. How did that come about? Was it just from the previous touring, and why that song that you had him come on?
I met Matt when Mike Portnoy was in Avenged. Mike's a really good friend of mine, and Matt and I, actually all the guys, but Matt and I in specific, just really hit it off. Became very close, and then last year we toured on Uproar for about a week of shows. Seven Dust couldn't do a week of shows, and we replaced them, and we got even closer to the Avenged guys. So when we were doing Sandpaper, I wanted a little bit of a call and response part, a Cat Scratch, a Whiplash, a Wish Hunt in Black. I thought it would sound cooler if somebody else sang that, And like if you listen to a top 40 song, it'll say Jay-Z featuring Rihanna or Lil Wayne featuring Neo or whoever. So I thought, well, why can't you do that in rock and roll? So I called Matt. He loved the part. He loved the song. He was, like I said, he was a fan of our band to begin with. But he actually put a lot of time into the arrangement of the song as well. He kind of made it more streamlined and more of a sleek radio type song. So he really came through, and not just vocally, but as an arranger as well. So it was really cool on a professional level, on a friendship level, to have him involved, and we do have that. It's Fozzy featuring M Shadows, and I thought that's a pretty cool vibe to have too. So and that's why, and it's been huge for us because, like I said, not only did he do a job with us in creating the song, but also when you have a guy like Shadows involved, that was always going to be the first single on the record. But when Shadows got involved, then it just made it it opened a lot of doors for people that never heard of Fozzy before that are checking it out, and it's the biggest rock, biggest radio song we've ever had. It's almost at top 40 now. So all the kind of stars aligned on that song for us. It's been going great.
Cool. You've also worked with Marty Friedman, Zakk Wylde on a couple of their songs. That was All That Remains album.
Yeah.
Is there anybody like on your wish list that you haven't worked with that you would just love to?
Well, it's funny. Like we use guests when it fits, and. Marty did a song with us on All That Remains, as did Zakk, as did Mark Tremonti and Miles Kennedy. Did a song called Nameless Faceless with me, Miles did. And then on this record, we had Shadows. We also had Phil Campbell from Motorhead played a song, played a solo on a song called She's My Addiction. And Phil's been a big fan of the band for years, and he played with us a couple times on stage, came and guested. He kept calling me like, can I do something on the next one? Fozzy, okay, do something crazy. Okay, I'd love to do it. I'm like, dude, I promise. When Phil Campbell's calling and asking, we'll find something for you. So he played a great solo on She's My Addiction, and I mean, if it came to be that we could use somebody, I'd love to call Slash up and have him play a solo. I think we were watching In This Moment earlier on tour, and Maria Brink's got such an interesting voice. It'd be kind of cool to have her do something if there's the right part in the song that fits. Then yes, if it's ironclad and there's no way, it's not like I want a stunt cast.
Right.
But I thought Slash would be cool because of his style, and I thought Maria might be something interesting to have as well. So that'd be kind of something. And then of course if Eddie Van Halen's available, we'll find something for him.
Maria from In This Moment, she just has this way of capturing emotion that I have not heard a lot of people able to do. With The Promise, their last single off their last album, just that raw emotion, man. She would be great.
Well, and the thing that was cool is we knew In This Moment their record came out the same day as Sin and Bones did, and we're both in the same record company, Century Media, both the same label. So we were watching them every night because they played, like I said, a couple slots before us on this tour. She does the whole show on like a platform. I was calling it her altar. She doesn't move. She just stands there. And as a front man or front woman, it's interesting to think of not moving, but she just really has this commanding presence. Just stands there, and it's very. I don't want to say Lady Gaga of metal, but it's very much that vibe. It's you can't take your eyes off of her. And they're a great band. We really enjoyed getting to know them. That was another band we got to know, and then they left after the first 3 weeks. It was kind of sad, like goodbye at this point. But yeah, she'd be really cool to do something with in the future.
So go back to little 10-year-old Chris Jericho in Canada, thinking about what am I going to do with my life, and what do I want to be.
Right.
You're kind of in this unique position where you not only got to be a rock star, you also got to be sort of a rock star in wrestling too.
Right.
I mean, you're kind of fulfilling a dream that a lot of kids have. Do you ever sort of walk out on stage or walk into the ring and sort of have this aha moment, like, holy crap?
Every day. Because when I was a kid, absolutely. I mean, I don't take this for granted, and also I've worked very, very hard to get to this point. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be in a rock and roll band, and I wanted to be a wrestler. Grew up in Winnipeg, Canada. Had no idea how to do either one, but just said, listen, this is what I want to do, and I don't care what people think, I don't care what people say, I'm going to do this. And I started playing in bands when I was 12, and did the high school scene and played the bars and all that stuff, and then wrestling kind of took off first, but I still continued to play music. And I always wanted to be the Paul Stanley of wrestling, take the ultimate rock and roll frontman and put that into a wrestling ring. Then when I started Fozzy, I took the attributes that I was using basically as Chris Jericho Y2J and put that back onto the stage, which I got from rock and roll anyways. So yeah, every day I do thank my lucky stars that we've had all of these great years in wrestling, all these great years with Fozzy, and that the momentum for Fozzy is building. I can really feel like we've took so many years to get to the top of the mountain, and once it gets to the top, when it starts going down, then it rolls on its own, and we're getting to that position. But the other day, actually, I had this great moment. When I was in high school, there was a band called Raven. They were part of the new wave of British heavy metal. Metallica's first tour was with Raven. Raven took them on tour. I loved Raven. The singer, bass player was called John Gallagher. We played in Washington, D.C. He lives there. He texts me, can I come to the show? Played the show. John Gallagher's in the crowd. He comes on the bus afterwards. I text Lars Ulrich to say, hey, John's on the bus. He says hi. Lars texts me back. Tell him I said hey. And I'm like, hold on a second. I'm on my tour bus after our show that John Gallagher watched, and I'm texting Lars Ulrich to tell him that John Gallagher said hi. Wow. My 15-year-old kid just blew up inside my head. It was one of the coolest moments that I've ever had, not just in my rock career, but my whole career.
That's pretty unreal.
Really put perspective on things, man.
But because of those two jobs, you got a pretty busy schedule, I imagine. How do you kind of switch between wrestling mode and rock mode, and is there a sort of travel cycle that's better or worse, or there's goods and bads to both, maybe?
Well, there's pros and cons to both. With wrestling, you have a little more independence. I travel by myself now at this point. With Fozzy, you travel with the band, which takes away some independence, but it's so much easier. You get on the bus, you wake up in the morning, you go take a shower, you eat breakfast, you get on the bus, you hang out, you do your interviews, you do the show, you hang out, you get back on the bus, have some drinks, go to sleep, you wake up, you're in the next town. I don't have to worry about renting cars, I don't have to worry about checking bags, going through airport security, all those little things, The thing is, though, to answer your first question, is you can't do both of these at the same time, and I don't. We used to in the early days of Fozzy, but before our last record came out, Chasing the Grail, we said, listen, we really have something that we think is special. We think we can really do something with this. So my whole schedule now is based around Fozzy's schedule. Had time open to go back to the WWE, I did, but knowing as soon as Sin and Bones came out, as soon as Uproar started, that's it. Now we have this tour, which is already going to mid-March. More slots are filling up. Hopefully we can tour for 2 years on this record. And then I'll see what happens after that. But I think we've worked really hard to get past a certain stigma about our band, that this is some kind of a wrestling thing or some kind of a celebrity vanity project, which it never was. And we're going to do another record after this one and another record after that, and we're going to continue to tour because this is what we do. It's who I am. And it's like, 30 Seconds to Mars with Jared Leto. He's a great singer, he's in a great rock and roll band, and oh my gosh, he actually is an actor as well. Is that so what? It's two separate things. I was watching a preview for American Horror Story, and who's the star of that? Adam Levine. And he's also the judge of X Factor. He's also got a pretty kick-ass band in Maroon 5. So some people just have a lot of different things that they can do, and some people like that, some people don't. But for me, the only people that don't like Fozzy are the people that haven't heard us. And for the people that just are haters, then step aside and let the people who like us get a better seat.
Speaking of that busy schedule of yours, is there room for a third book or anything coming up on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm supposed to be actually starting on it now during this tour, but it's very hard to do a book. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I have some big shoes to fill because both my previous books were very well received and did really well. So yes, there will be a third book. I can't rush it, so probably maybe a year and change from now. I'd like it to release it 3 years after the last one, which would be 2014 in February or so.
And is that going to focus more on the Fozzy stuff at this point, or some wrestling?
Well, of course. It'll focus basically what my second book, Undisputed, was half and half. Yeah. And I got a lot of great wrestling stories to tell, including the whole 2007 to 2010, and even this last run, which I think the last 5 years were the best run of my whole career. The Shawn Michaels angle, the Rey Mysterio angle, the CM Punk angle. There's a lot of great stuff that I haven't even scratched the surface on. I never talked about it yet. So even from a wrestling standpoint alone, I have enough for a good book. That plus with all the Fozzy stuff, going to Iraq 3 times, getting stuck in an unsecured war zone in Iraq when our helicopter basically crashed. Dancing with the Stars was a trip. Great experiences from that. So there's a lot of stuff to write about, and that's why I really have to put a lot of focus on it, because I don't want to not put everything into it and not make it just as good as the first two.
See, I was kind of hoping for a Chris Jericho romance novel.
That might happen next too as well. Yeah, exactly.
Renaissance man, author, wrestler, rock star.
So the time I fell in love with a donkey in Tijuana. That's my romance novel. It's a little bit controversial, but hey, that's okay.
You and me both.
A little bit controversial. So, Lance Storm, the greatest wrestler from Canada of the past 20 years, or the greatest greatest wrestler from Canada ever?
Lance Storm? Yeah. What about me? What about you?
Are there particular wrestlers? I mean, obviously, growing up and coming up in the business, the Hart family is huge, especially for Canadians. But are there guys that you're even working with now that you still admire? And you're like, wow, I get to work with.
I mean, I think Lance is a great wrestler. I was just kidding, but to me, and I think probably Lance would agree with me on this. The best wrestler that ever came out of Canada is Bret Hart, and I don't think anybody can argue that. At least I can't. And there's a lot of good guys now in the company. Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan. There's a lot of guys like that, and some of them are still learning. There's a lot of guys that are still learning because the experience level isn't what it used to be. So I think in the next 3, 4, 5 years, those guys will get even better and better and be able to shoulder the company on their backs. And that's why a guy like myself is more valuable than ever, because I can help them even if I have one match with them. Like I worked 2 matches with Dolph, my last 2 matches there, and just from being in there with him twice, I can see this is really good, keep doing this. This is really bad, change that now. It's a bad habit. And a lot of people don't see that. They just think, oh, this is great. And it's not. There's things that need to be worked on, as there is for all of us. But at least I can see it because I have 22 years of experience in doing that. I mean, we played some shows last year with Anthrax, and on stage, their tour manager pointed out a few things that I was doing that at the time I was like, whatever, And then now I look back and like he was totally right. And then thankfully he pointed it out, so I was able to become a better frontman, a better singer. And that's how you have to learn from other people that have been around just as long or longer.
Sure.
And kind of pick up what they know, and that's something that's very important in any element of show business or anything that you do.
You talk every time you come back. You seem to reinvent yourself as a wrestler. Is there a certain incarnation of the Chris Jericho character that you favor over other ones?
I'd probably say that the 2008 No Country for Old Men heel, and that reason why I say that, there's a movie called No Country for Old Men, and there's a guy in it called Anton Chigurh. It was played by Javier Bardem. Amazing character, controlled lunatic, very quiet, very stoic, and he talked like this. And that's exactly where I got the idea to use that character, and instead of the yelling and screaming guy. Because I'm not saying I'm the first guy to ever do that, but if you watch the show, what was going on at the time, guys were still talking very loudly, blah, 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 and I took it down. I made people listen to what I was saying, and now it's pretty much the MO for all bad guys in the WWE do that. But I think that character was a great character. The Shawn Michaels feud was probably the best feud I've ever been involved with, best angle, best storyline I've ever been involved with. And the suit wearing, big word using, Nick Bockwinkel-esque, which is a guy from the 60s that I kind of rediscovered. So it was a combination of Nick Bockwinkel and Anton Chigurh, and that was probably my favorite Jericho version. That was a very hated bad guy for 3 years, which is hard because it's easier to make people hate you than it is to make them like you, but it's hard to continue making them hate you. If you look at all the best villains of all time, they always are good guys after. Darth Vader, I'm talking about pop culture. Darth Vader, Freddy Krueger, Hannibal Lecter, the Terminator, the Joker. If Heath Ledger was still with us, if he was in the new Batman, he'd be a total good guy because he was so entertaining. So to make people continue hating you, that's the real secret. And I was able to do that for a long, long time.
That's an interesting look at it. As a metal fan, this is something we like to do with all our interviews. I want to get your take on the Mount Rushmore of metal. If you could chisel some 4 faces into a mountainside that were, the power behind metal, and they could be, a singer, guitar, bass, drum, or just 4 people that you admire. Who would go on your Mount Rushmore of metal?
Well, I mean, that's a hard question. Is it a modern era or is it
Anybody.
70s era?
Anybody.
Because that's so broad, you know. I mean,
I'd say from Black Sabbath onward.
Wow, I mean, you'd probably need a football team of Mount Rushmore guys. But if you had to take it from what I like, and for I'd say stick Ozzy up there. I'd say put Steve Harris up there. I'd say Lars or James. I'm not sure who. Maybe half Lars's face, half James's face.
It's an ugly person.
Yeah, that's an ugly character.
Balding Lars or with full hair?
Lars is cool either way, right?
Hey, what are you saying about Bowman? Bang on.
So it's hard, man. Like I said, if you're like talking about the actual, the Mount Rushmore, who created metal? Metallica, Maiden, Ozzy.
What about guitar player? You have like a
probably Van Halen. Let's put Eddie up there. Eddie Van Halen. Ozzy, Steve Harris, and half Lars, half James. But you could mutate that into so many. You could do a 70s version, an 80s version.
Sure.
You could do a version from nowadays. But if you're gonna go the guys that actually brought heavy metal to where it is today, that's Sabbath, Metallica, Maiden, Van Halen. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, you could put Kiss and you could put Paul Stanley up there too.
Yeah, that's a fun question. We have this debate all the time.
It's a great question. It's a great question. And I'd probably maybe lean more, even though I like James as a hero more, I'd probably put Lars's face up there more than James's, because Lars, well, both of them are such metal fans. So yeah, half Lars, half James.
Sin and Bones, new album from Fozzy. It's out in stores now. Pick it up. You're on tour for, I'm talking to your tour guy, seems like you got a long run schedule.
Lots of stuff coming up, yeah.
If you're not here at Uproar, catch you next time.
Yeah, we will be around. Like I said, this is our first real coast-to-coast U.S. tour, and it's an eye-opener for everybody, for us too. I mean, there's a lot of people that haven't seen this band that have been waiting for a long time, and there's a lot of people that might have known the band but don't really know us, and there's a lot of people that have never heard of the band, but they're walking away converted, and that's all we can do. Our mission on this tour was to be, a buzz band on the tour, to kill it every day, and it's been going great. So it's really gratifying to see people go, you know what? I never heard of your band before, but it's great. I bought a CD, sign it. So it's really cool. So we will be back and forth across the states many a time before this tour is done.
Sounds good. The Ayatollah of rock and roll.
Yes.
Fozzy,
I don't even know how to spell that.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.